Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Deep Rock Galactic. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Zero. Let's get to it. So today we're doing the Lunar Festival assignment, but before we get to that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. So let's get into it. Lunar Festival has returned again. This time it's the year of the rabbit. Therefore, we are getting a rabbit hat from DRG. We'll have to complete the assignment in order to do it. There are lunar rabbits on every level now instead of anything else. That'll double our performance points, and that goes to our season pass. And then if you did not play the Lunar Festival last year, they're offering the wide brim hat for you. So looking at the assignment, it's 5 different missions that you have to complete. You'll get 12,500 credits, 450 crafting minerals, 20 brewing ingredients, 1 overclock, 1 cosmetic, and then of course the rabbit hat that you'll get. Now in addition, you'll notice that the space rig is decorated for the Lunar Festival as well. Not to mention the Abyss Bar and Lloyd. So when you look at the space rig, you'll see the decorations. You'll see, kind of the theme of the Lunar Festival with the lunar rabbits, since it is the year of the rabbit. All right, so the first mission that you'll have to do is a salvage mission, which means mini mules, which means you'll have to find and repair mini mules, send them back to the derelict drop pod, and then you'll have to repair the drop pod to get it working again, because they're not sending in a fresh drop pod when there's a perfectly good drop pod right there. So you'll have to repair the uplink between the drop pod and the space rig. Then you'll have to do a zone control, and then you'll have to refuel it. And again, it is zone control. You have that bubble. The more people that are in there, the faster it'll go. Even after that, you'll have to wait a minute and a half for it to power up. Once that powers up, though, the drop pod will open up, and then you'll have exactly 1 minute to get in and out. So don't wait around. As soon as that drop pod opens, get in and get out. Now each stage of the assignment will give you materials and goods. With each additional assignment that you do, so the further along you go, you're going to get better rewards for completion until you have everything that I just listed off. Alright, so stage 1 is complete of the Lunar Festival for this year, and you get a little bit of credits and a little bit of minerals used for crafting. Stage 2 of the Lunar Festival has you refining liquid morkite, which means finding the reserves of the liquid morkite, 3 different ones, call on a pump jack, build out the pipeline framework, and then of course build the pipe from the rig to each pump jack. Now there is no mule on this stage, so everything will have to be brought back to the rig, the pumping station, if you will. And as you're going along, when you start refining the liquid morkite, you'll eventually get leaks. You'll have to repair the pipeline, and your progression will stop until all the leaks are repaired. So make sure that you run out and get those pipelines repaired, get pumping, so you can get that progression. Now, of course, you're going to have to deal with these swarms of bugs as you're doing all of this, especially once you start pumping. During the whole build-out phase, you'll have swarms that'll show up periodically, but you'll have wave after wave of them once you start pumping that liquid morkite. Now, as you're doing these missions, don't forget about the secondary objectives, and of course, the lunar rabbits that have been dropped onto the surface of the planet. So make sure that you are getting, crafting minerals. Make sure that you're getting gold and nitra, and then of course get the lunar rabbit. Any secondary objective that you might have. This one, of course, is blue caps. And once you get to 100%, send that back into orbit.
Well done. Cargo rocket is returning
and then wait for
the drop pod to get you out.
Drop pod to show up. It'll only take about 30 seconds for it to show up. So once you send the rig up to orbit, you don't have to wait around for 2 minutes and then wait for it to drop. You just have to wait for it to get up to the space rig. Once it gets up to the space rig, they send in the drop pod right away. So then just make your way to wherever you think that the drop pod is going to drop down, and then hop in. You don't have to wait for a mule or anything. That's the one good part of not having a mule on a level. Now, the more dwarves that survive each level, the better your rewards. You get a credit reward for each dwarf that survives the level. So having all 4 dwarves survive, of course, is going to net you the biggest credit score.
Good work. We're pulling you back in.
So make sure that you bring up your fellow dwarves when they go down, if at all possible. And if you didn't drop something into the raid before it got sent up, you can always do so on the drop pod. Alright, so stage 2 is complete.
Mission completed.
And once again, we have some credits, 1,500 credits, and then 100 minerals that you'll use for crafting. Stage 3 has you collecting quarks. Look for the sparkly blue bits, and then dig in and get that big chunk of a quark. Once again, you'll have no mini mule, so you'll have to be the mule, excuse me, not mini mule. So you have to bring the materials back over to where the rig is at and drop them in. Depending on how your level is set up, this may be relatively straightforward, or it may be a little bit more difficult. If you're an engineer, you can put down platforms. If you're a gunner, you can put in a zip line to make things a little bit easier to get from one place to the next. And if you're a driller, you can drill through the floors and the walls to get from point A to point B a little bit easier. And don't forget those secondary objectives, which will net you a bonus at the end of the mission. So make sure that you're paying attention, and when you're doing quarks, don't forget that you have plenty of enemies that are coming in on a regular basis, but also on an increasing basis. So the longer that you're doing the quark mission, the harder it will get. So grab the quarks, grab your secondary objective, whatever it happens to be, and get out. As soon as you have what you want, you can call it, send it back up to space. You'll have to defend for 2 minutes before they send in the drop pod. Once the 2 minutes is up, you'll have to wait an additional approximately 30 seconds for the drop pod to drop wherever it's going to go. So don't forget that you actually have about 2.5 minutes that you have to wait for the drop pod, not just 2 minutes. Which may seem like a really long time, especially if you're getting swarmed by a bunch of bugs. But once the drop pod shows up, make your way over there as quickly as possible, however it is best for you to get there. If you're a driller, you can just make a tunnel. If you're anyone else, you also have traversal tools that you can use to get up there. And then, once again, you won't have to worry about waiting for the mule to get to the drop pod, you can just get out. And again, if something does happen to one of your fellow dwarves, whatever may happen, make sure to pick them up so that you get the maximum bonus at the end of the mission. Now, just because you called in the drop pod doesn't mean that the swarms are like, okay, well, thanks for leaving, we'll see you next time. Nope. They're going to be trying to take you out as you're trying to leave, so make sure that you are prepared for the swarms. But that's it for stage number 3. Already over halfway there. Rewards start looking a little bit better. 2,000 credits plus another 100 minerals. So knowing what the total rewards are going to be for finishing this, you know that the last 2 missions are going to be the best payouts. Alright, so stage 4 has you cracking an Amaran Heartstone, which means that you're going to need a drill dozer, which means that you're going to need to defend and repair said drill dozer, plus refuel it when it runs out of fuel. Once you get to the Heartstone, make sure that you have plenty of nitra, as there will be swarms of enemies that will be coming to take you and the drill dozer out. So call in your resupplies. Make sure that it is more or less centrally located, close, but not too close to the drill dozer, and then start up the drill. It'll start cracking it in 4 different phases, each one more terrifying than the last, until you get to the final phase where it will actually crack open the Heartstone and you can take it and get out of the level. Once again, you want to make sure that you are defending the drill dozer. It has 3 different sections. Each section goes up to 100%. If it gets down to 0% on any one section, you're still okay, but if all 3 sections get destroyed, it's game over and you lose.
The Heartstone is ours. Deposit it.
But once it's cracked open, go ahead and call the mule over, deposit that Heartstone in there, and then call for the drop pod and make your way out. More than likely, you'll have to go back through the path that the drill dozer took to get to the drop pod, and as you're doing so, this is your opportunity to pick up any resources or secondary objectives that might have slipped through the cracks as you were going along. So if you want to pick up some extra materials, gold, or crafting minerals, depending on what stage you do, it might be Luminite, it might be Magnite, could be Enor Pearl, whatever it happens to be, you can pick those up on your way out if you happen to see them. Even Nitra is going to help you out because it will give you more experience at the end of the mission. So leave no mineral behind, but do keep in mind that you do have a set timer that is counting down, and the drop pod will leave with or without you. So whether you're there or whether you're not, once the countdown gets to 0, it's going to leave. If you happen to go down and your teammates are already on board, it's going to leave you as well. So make sure that you're cognizant of the dangers that are on the level, so you don't bite off more than you can chew. You say, hey, there's a little bit of gold over here. You might get it, or you might say, you know what, it's not worth it. There's too many enemies around, and I'm not going to be able to get out if I try and take it. So make sure that you are assessing the situation so that you don't get overwhelmed.
I got no ammo left. Hold your breath, lads.
That's it for stage number 4. Look at us go. We only have one more stage left. And then we'll be done with the lunar assignment. Now this lunar assignment can be done at any time during the festival. You will have at least a week, if not 2 weeks, in order to complete it. So there we go. We've got 25 of each mineral, plus a decent amount of credits. So everything else is going to drop after the last stage, and the last stage of the Lunar Festival is an egg hunt. So just like any egg hunt, you're going to look for that organic material that is around the walls or the floors or even the ceiling. Dig into it to grab the egg, and each egg that you grab has a chance of spawning a swarm, but even if it doesn't spawn a swarm, you're still going to have some enemies coming at you. And then of course you have the random swarms that show up from time to time. But once you get all the eggs, then you're done. Plus, don't forget those secondary objectives, which will give you a bonus. Call in the drop pod. Wait for it to show up. Again, about 30 seconds. Once it drops, then make your way over to it and get out. I always feel like it's a mad dash going for the drop pod. Almost like a race, not necessarily against the other dwarves, but a race between you and the mule, getting back to the drop pod, seeing if you can get there before. But it's not so much a race as long as you get out alive. There we go. If you get there before the mule, you just have to defend until the mule docks and the drop pod is unlocked for you to get in. Or if you follow the mule, then you can always get on right away, so you don't have to worry about defending. But you do have to attack any bugs that happen to be around, because they will spawn in close proximity to wherever there are dwarves. It's that kind of a Tremors thing. They can sense your movement and they come for you. Once everyone gets on the drop pod, though, then you can get out.
Retrieving escape pod.
And there we go. That was the final mission in the series. And of course, enjoy all the rewards that you get from it. The minerals, the credits, the brewing ingredients, the matrix cores, and of course the new hat. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.
PlayStation